Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. This is the adventure of your lifetime because we've got a whole bunch of folks here in the house, and this is going to be a great show, and I'm looking forward to it very much. And the one in the middle right there, if you're listening to or watching this, the one in the middle is Holly Berry, and then I'm going to introduce her, and she's going to introduce everybody that's going to be talking and today on the show. The Passionistas are here. Anyway, I wish I could say that properly, but that's okay. And they've got a great guest who they're going to introduce. So I'm Holly Berry. Welcome. It's nice to have you back. It's all you always dress up the set so nicely.
Oh, thank you. Do you got your audio like sound effect buttons at the ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, that's all I got.
And that sound represents our over 1 million listeners worldwide. We are saying a wonderful hello to you today. We are doing a special series with the Passionistas, and so every first and third Monday of the month, we're going to have the Passionistas here on Positive Talk Radio, and they're going to feature one of their Passionistas, and probably most of them are going to be in the Sisterhood as well. We had our first show last week talking about kind of the plans for the series, and then some of the guests that were going to be on the series, including our featured guest today. And with that, I'll shoot it over to Amy and Nancy. Please introduce your guest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Holly. We love being here. And we love that we're going to be doing this every first and third Monday with you both. So thank you for this very special platform to be a part of. So for those of us who don't know us, we're Amy and Nancy Harrington. We are sisters, and we are founders of the Passionistas Project, which includes a podcast and an annual Women's Equality Summit, and most recently our new Sisterhood, which is our online community of women coming together to support each other, learn from each other, and make sisterly bonds just like we have. So our guest today is one of our Power Passionistas. She's one of our resident experts. She is our own personal coach and mentor. Without this woman, we would not have a sisterhood. We would not have built this platform. We would not have the tiny habits that get us through the day. And we would just be, it sounds like would be a total mess. The lovely Julie DeLuca Collins. And we will let her tell you more about herself because we can't do it justice. So welcome, Julie. We're so glad you're here.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for having me. And I have a little bit of a sexy voice today. I am in Florida, and apparently the pollen is getting to me. So I'm so happy to be here. And, you know, I am just humbled by your words and your kindness. I think that for me, the mission is always to share the kindness, because once you share it with others and you share a little bit of who you are and what you're about into the world, then your people find you. And this is why I love having the sisterhood. And I have been incredibly blessed to have you in my life since 2020. We connected. The first time I saw the name, the Passionistas, I thought, these are my people, because you're passionate about so many different things that are so important to me as well. I am obviously a mentor, a coach, a speaker, and podcaster, which is one of my most favorite things in the whole wide world. But I believe that all of us as women have a message. All of us as individuals, really, not just women, but I love to lift up other women to help them get their voice and also create the life of their dreams, and do so confidently using habits like you talked about, Amy. So that's a little bit about me.
Would you like me to ask a question? Or did Amy and Nancy want to keep going?
No, please, Holly, jump into this conversation.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you're out there and you're listening right now and you've never heard of being certified in tiny habits, let's find out more about that. Julie?
Yeah, so thank you so much for asking. This is one of my favorite questions. I have to tell you that any certification that you may hear I have is not because I am looking to, be this top person. I am looking to be me, the best person that I can be. And I knew that habits for me are the things that allowed me to become successful in a corporate career. I grew through the corporate ladder like many people, and certainly had ups and downs, but the right habits are the ones that I really attribute to my success, that consistency of showing up and doing the work. And one of the things that I found is that although I was successful with most habits, there were others that I was really struggling with. And I just kept thinking, if I just had the motivation, if I just got it together, what's wrong with me? And then soon I found out, after hearing somebody in Clubhouse speak, and I thought, oh, this is it. This makes sense. And that somebody is actually Dr. BJ Fogg, who is the founder of the Stanford University Behavior Lab. He is also the founder of the Tiny Habits Academy. He created the Tiny Habits Method. And most of the books that are out there regarding habits are based on his work. And one of the things that he shares is that we create behavior not because of motivation, but because of aspiration. If we can have that picture of who we want to become, and then begin to create simple, implementable, replicatable steps that are not relying on motivation, right? Then we can become consistent enough to automate that tiny behavior and then grow it. And that's tiny habits, what it's all about. It requires the ABC, the ability to do the behavior, doing the behavior, and C, it stands for celebrating, because change only happens when we feel good. And once I learned more about this behavior design, how to design behavior, I thought, I need this, because as I work with individuals and as I work in my own business, to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to be able to replicate behavior. You need to do the boring stuff day in and day out. And really helping individuals learn how to create those tiny habits is a sure way to make them successful and allow them to reach their goals. And for myself, that's the same thing that has happened. And again, it's a work in progress, but I love tiny habits because they really are the key to creating the life that you want.
And it sounds like, Amy and Nancy, have you experienced that part of Julie's coaching where you did some tiny habits? And I'd love to hear about that.
We have. We are actually part of Julie's mastermind group every Wednesday. So we've done a lot of work with tiny habits, and it's great. It's just the simple little things in your life, like I want to start walking every day, and instead of, okay, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to walk 5 miles. The tiny habit is I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to put on my walking shoes. And if that's all you do, then at least you did that tiny step. And if you go outside and you walk a little, that's great. But the plan is to just get in the habit of putting on your walking shoes. And then maybe the next time it's get in the habit of going outside, going out onto the street, walking for a block and coming back and building it up. So it's really fun. It's really exciting to see it in action. And there are so many moments in the day as I'm going through the day where I think, oh, tiny habit. If I do that today, it'll happen again tomorrow. So I think about Julie all the time as I'm going through my day.
All the time. We all joke, those of us who are Julie mentees all joke about how we always hear Julie in our head in a very good way. But one of the things that's great about Julie too is that Julie practices what she preaches. So it's very relatable. It doesn't feel like somebody in an ivory tower telling you, oh, well, you should practice tiny habits. And then going off and flying off in her jet somewhere. She's doing the work too, which makes you see that it's possible for a regular person, a very special but regular person to work this into their lives. So it's been great.
Could we do like a mini live like sesh with Kevin? Because
Yeah.
oh, that would be awesome. Okay, so Kevin, if you have like one current kind of goal or one tiny or like one habit you would love to like work towards, what would that be?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, we all have something we want to do, right, Kevin?
All right, I got a really good one for you.
Okay, you got it.
That is, I don't know how you would do this in a small way, but and not me, but I have a friend. I have a friend who's a smoker, and the friend who's a smoker would like to quit. But how do you do that in a small habit way rather than taking a big chunk and saying, I'm quitting, and then nobody wants to be around you for a week?
Yeah, you know what? This is a really, really good one. And for many individuals who are looking to not only create habits, but they're looking to stop doing certain things, smoking is really one of the things that I've heard a lot of in the Tiny Habits Academy when we coach. This is a very common thing. First of all, I want you to think about, for your friend rather, Kevin, I want you to let your friend know, right, that there's got to be an anchor moment. The automation is already ingrained in your brain. There's a moment in which you already reach, or the person reaches for the cigarette, right? Reaches, and it's not something that you think about. And really this happens because our brain loves to be efficient. Our brain loves to automate things. In the very beginning, right, as you began a behavior like smoking, and I've never smoked, so I would imagine, right, that you had to like really intentionally grab this pack of cigarettes, take one out, and then kind of fumble to kind of light it up, right? And having the pack of cigarettes in front of you or in a place, or maybe there's a location where you typically smoke, right? So for instance, I'll give you the example from my dad. My dad was a smoker. And one of the things that he used to do is after dinner, right? So this is the way that we create these tiny habits, or we stop to create the behavior that we don't want. We have to have an anchor moment. So for instance, for my dad, is after dinner was his anchor moment. He would go into his lanai. And that was his location, right? And his cigarettes were out there and the ashtray was out there. And that's where he would automatically come out after dinner to enjoy the early evening and begin to smoke, right? So I want you to pay attention if you're listening also to us today. If there's something that you want to stop doing, I want you to first find the anchor moment or the location where you typically will do this behavior, right? And then once you start to identify, then you don't want to say, okay, well, I'm going to quit overnight, because then what ends up happening is you're doing what we call white knuckling through it. And you're really relying on that motivation to stop. Number two, if you want to say, okay, well, rather than going outside, or rather than having the cigarettes in my pocket or on my desk or where I would see them, right? Maybe there's another behavior that you want to replace that with, right? So, for instance, if my dad was going to go outside to the lanai to smoke, I would typically will, tell him you need to get the cigarettes out of there and he needs to do something different with his hands. So maybe he will, and this is actually how he began to quit. He had a puzzle and he would begin to do the puzzle. And he wasn't there to, oh, I'm going to work on a puzzle for the whole night. It was just his goal to come out and do one puzzle. And he started to replace one thing with another. So in order to really design specifically for anybody's special behavior, it's important to first find what is the anchor moment, because this is how habits happen, right? First, we need to have that anchor moment that reminds us to do the behavior, doing the behavior, and celebrating. And most people, when I say celebration, they think, they're going to throw a party. No, celebration could be as simple as thinking of something that makes you happy. Because when your brain starts to associate that you're happy when you stop the behavior or you create a tiny new behavior, then your brain starts to create new neural pathways in your brain. You start to rewire your brain and you start to then create that long-lasting habit. I will give you the example for me. In the mornings, and this is my biggest habit that I talk about. So if you've heard me before, bear with me. But in the mornings, I wanted to be the kind of person who drinks water daily, right? We need to have that intake of water. But when I think about having to drink 100 ounces of water, I just think, oh my God, I'm never going to do that. And it becomes really hard. And then my brain is thinking it's hard. So therefore, I don't feel good and I cannot create that new behavior. What I started to do is I started to analyze what are the things that I do. Well, there's one thing that I do every single morning. When I'm home, I have to let my dogs out. So my anchor moment is when I let my dogs out. Then my second thing is I fill my water bottle with water. And then I celebrate. And then that celebration is barely saying, congratulations, Julie, you did it. Or looking at my dogs and seeing them play outside and thinking, oh, they're so cute, right? And that starts to design that behavior for me. But the most important in trying to create or stop doing something that you don't want, I want you to also think about who is that person who doesn't smoke? Why do you want to become that person? And then start to list all the different ways in which the future you, what kind of life do they live? Are they healthier? Do they have more lung capacity? Are they able to maybe exercise more or walk more? Or they are able to lose weight? Whatever it might be, you need to list all of these reasons of who you're going to be when you stop the behavior, and then begin to find the spots in which you have the automations and start to change that behavior by creating new tiny behaviors. And never, and by the way, we are going to have that moment in which we'll say, oh, okay, I went back to that thing. Okay, start again. It's never about not beating yourself up, because when we beat ourselves up for not doing the thing that we want, then we go down the shame spiral. The shame spiral creates difficulty for us to move to do the behavior that we want. So that would be one of the things that I would advise you is find the awareness, find where your automations are, and begin to design something as simple as maybe moving and making it more difficult, right? For you to pick up the cigarettes or whatever it is that you're smoking, right? Because these days there's so many things, but I hope that's helpful.
It's very helpful because you have to start someplace. But I just want to be clear for anybody who's never smoked that it is and if you haven't, don't, because I'm here to tell you it's insidious. Because when you're looking for something pleasurable, you smoke after a good meal, after having a cup of coffee, after an evening with your beloved. You know where I'm going. And in anything that you're doing pleasurable, or if you're angry, if you're jealous, if you need comfort, and so throughout the day, this happens a bunch of times where you will go into that mode of either you're being happy or you're being pissed off, and then that's when you grab those. So it is one little step at a time.
Yeah.
In order to be able to get through that. And if your loved one is a smoker and he's a little grumpy for a day or two, just go to a movie or something and stay away from them. That's my advice.
Kevin, one of the things, and thank you so much for sharing that it happens. The behavior happens in so many everyday occurrences. So here's what I'm going to encourage the listeners and also your friend who wants to quit smoking. I want your friend to actually put maybe a little note in your pack of cigarettes, right? In which you say, take a breath. Right. And then every time you're going to pick them up, you have to be able to see it so that if you're going to pick up automatically, the first thing that you see is take a breath. And it really, when we have an urge, right, it actually is something that passes within 10 seconds. So for instance, if I am stressed and I want to eat nachos and I go into my kitchen, I have a sign that says, Julie, take a breath. And I will actually step back and take a breath for about 10, 15, 20 seconds. And then you're surfing that urge and the urge passes. So, and then when the urge passes and you don't smoke, then go me, look at that. Right? Because then you're training your brain to do a new behavior.
That really makes a lot of sense because my friend has tried everything, including putting his cigarettes in the refrigerator or freezer. And because he's inherently a little lazy, be quiet, Holly, he doesn't necessarily want to go all the way to the refrigerator. So that can be a deal breaker in and of itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that the biggest thing that we have to learn when we're trying to change behavior is that we have to find the compassion for ourselves. Many times we don't find time to give ourselves grace. And the reality is that most of the behaviors that we don't like are behaviors that we've created for many, many years. So think about it. If you're going to drive, and I want to say like in California, right? If you're going to get on the 501 or whatever highway you've got out there, right? That highway has been there and it's main thoroughway for a very, very long time. And if you're going to take a back road and maybe a road that doesn't have any pavement, it's going to be even hard, right? Because you get on the on-ramp and you keep going. That's how existing habits are. You're getting on the on-ramp and you're going. Now, when you're creating a new habit, it's like you're starting to kind of like clear the road. And these are the new neural passageways that you're creating in your brain. You're clearing the road. Then you're trying to maybe, bring some gravel in there. And then you start to pave it. And after you pave it, more people know about this. So more of these neural pathways are traveling through that area as opposed to going in the superhighway. So think about every time that you do the right behavior that you want, you're just paving the road to a new behavior. Now, you're never going to get rid of the habit. We cannot ever get rid of that behavior that we have. It's encoded in our brain, but we can, supplant it. We can create other behaviors that become more prominent for us.
You are really, really talented, by the way. That is really good. And Holly, my friend says he'd like to thank you for outing him right here on.
I get blamed for so much. Oh, well, for everyone listening right now, if you are a fan of origin stories, as I am, we actually got a bio ahead of the show, and I was able to hear how the Passionistas, Amy and Nancy, first met Julie, and because I have never experienced the Power of Passionistas Women's Equality Summit, I would love to hear more about that and the origin story of you guys meeting.
Go ahead, man.
All right. Well, the Passionistas Project Women's Equality Summit is an annual event, although we skipped last year because I was under the weather. We get together. It was started in 2020, and we were going to do a small in-person get-together in Los Angeles, and we were planning on doing it in August of 2020 because it was the 100th anniversary of some women getting the right to vote. Not all women, as some people think, but some women. And we started to think about what we were going to do. And January, February of 2020, we were starting to make plans. And then there was a little pandemic. Don't know if you remember that or not. but we couldn't do it. Couldn't do it live in person. So we took it online and made it virtual. And we reached out to our social media community and to a bunch of places online where you can list, find a guest, be a guest. And we put out a call for women who wanted to speak at the summit. And we got an email from Julie DeLuca Collins. And we, like she said, we instantly hit it off. She spoke at that summit and she has since spoken at all of our summits. And what the summit is it's a 3-day event of storyteller panels where we bring together women from different marginalized communities and we give them a topic and they all tell their personal story that relates to that topic. And then there's a roundtable discussion. So we are hearing their personal stories. We're hearing how that topic affects them as individuals and as a representative of their community. But we're also seeing how these communities can come together and find the commonalities among them when dealing with a topic like education or confidence or transformational leadership. So it's a really fun week. It's 3 days. We also do our Passionistas Persist awards, which we give to people like we've given them in the past to Dr. Jane Goodall and to Margaret Cho. And then we do all sorts of other fun events during the course of the 3 days. So we're going to plan a small event for this year. And then in 2025, we'll be back to our big event again. But that's how we met Julie.
I love it. So if I wanted, and if our listeners want to see more about the Women's Equality Summit that you host, or maybe sign up for it, how do they do that?
They can go to thepassionistasproject.com. And all of our information is there. We have a special page set up that's thepassionistasproject.com/positive talk. So your listeners can go there and they can get 30% off. What is it? 30? No, it's 20% off their membership to the Sisterhood. And once they're in the Sisterhood, they'll also be getting information about future summits and other events that we'll be doing.
Now, I got to ask you, the Sisterhood, how big of an organization do you want it to be? Because there may be a lot of folks listening today, a lot of women that are saying, I really need community. I really need a cool community that I can be part of. So is this a virtual event?
The Sisterhood is virtual, and it's what we intend for it to be is the biggest women's empowerment destination in the world. We have members from all over the globe. We have women from Australia and France and Canada. And we figured out that within the Passionistas community at large, either women who have participated in our events, listened to our podcast, come to an event. We have women on every continent except Antarctica. So if you know anybody down there, tell them to tune in and we can fill that drop a little pin on the map. But yeah, there are women from everywhere. And yet the community is very intimate in that people are constantly making personal connections. It's not a place where you come and you get lost in a sea of faces and names. When people join, we do our very best. I think we've done it for everybody so far. We make at least one direct connection with one other Passionista that we think they would have something in common with. And most often the case, we do that with more than one person. And we give them opportunities to, introduce themselves, to talk about their projects, to, if they have a podcast, they can put their podcast in our radio network. We interview women in our community. So it's a place where you can really come and be seen and heard, and also find your own sisters within our bigger sisterhood. But I mean, Julie's a part of it. So Julie, what do you think as somebody from, who's not one of us?
Well, I do believe that we are each other's person. And this is what the sisterhood is about. We live in a world in which, it could be very lonely and polarizing. And the sisterhood is a place where any woman can go in, or anybody who identifies as a female you can go in and find somebody to connect that makes you feel seen, makes you feel understood. And that's really one of the biggest things that everybody is craving, right? We're looking for a place where we can belong, where we can be seen, we can be understood. And what Nancy and Amy have created is a space online that now is branching out eventually to have these additional in-person glimpses of sisters coming together and connecting and really not only supporting each other, but learning from each other by listening, by exploring our differences as opposed to being divided by them, right? Because in a world where we are divided so many different ways, it's a great place to find a place where you can be you can be embraced for who you are, you can share who you are, and then you can walk alongside with somebody that maybe comes from a different background, has a different trajectory in life, and then begin to still thrive, support each other, and give each other this space to be who we want to become through having the right support system. And this is incredibly important. There's not a lot of places, where we find the support. There's a lot of places where you can go, but there's a little bit of competition. And I know that that is not necessarily what we're looking to do. We are looking to, like you say, iron sharpen iron, right? But not in a competitive, mean-spirited way, but in a way that really continues to help others grow and help others really come into their own and live their passions as we all have, that we sometimes need somebody to remind us and to help us that we don't have to do it alone.
And the cool thing is, this is a worldwide program. So there are, I'm sure, and you guys would know better than me because I'm not one, but I'm sure that depending upon where you live and the customs that you are subject to, that the freedom that women have varies from one corner of the globe to the other. And this is a way for you to touch other people that are close and or far, but they have the same identity, the same ideals. And this would be a great place for you to be if you're in England, or if you're in India or Australia or the Philippines or any of these places. You can touch base because the Brushwood Media Network is a global enterprise, and we support you guys fully and entirely. So,
As
Holly,
well
I
as
know you.
you're well, I was going to say,
Go
as
ahead.
well as you're streaming live on YouTube, and for our listeners that are listening right now, if you want to put questions or comments in the YouTube channel, Kevin is our moderator watching, and we'd be happy to try to help funnel those questions in. If you have questions for the Passionistas or for Julie, we're happy to help try to get them answered live while we're on the air.
It is a really good point, Kevin. And in our first summit, we did have a woman from India who did a presentation. That was really fascinating to hear about what it's like to be a woman in India. And it just opens your eyes to, we have so many battles to fight here in the United States. And since our first summit, we have even more than we did back then. But it makes you really aware of what other people are going through in other countries. And we want to support women everywhere. So the more people from different countries, the better as far as we're concerned. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see people from, we had the only doula in Northern Macedonia speak at one of our summits. And it was fascinating. It's like the process that women have to go through here in the same year. I think we had a Black woman talking about the infant death rate with Black women in America. So to hear kind of the two perspectives on that one topic from halfway across the globe and right here in our own backyard, it makes you again realize how much we have in common and how much we need to support each other worldwide. So if we're going to see a difference anywhere.
To see a difference anywhere, you have to see a difference everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well said.
And you guys are capable of, and I just love the work that you guys do. And you've shined in the times you've been here on our show, and Holly can attest to this. You have given us information about what's actually going on in some places, in some corners of even this fine country that we're living in, that that need to be brought to light, so that, because you can't change them if it's in the dark. So we bring them to light, and handicap people working and a whole bunch of different things. Isn't that true, Holly?
It is, yeah. And with women that help support and champion women's empowerment movements, I adore them so much. And in our last show with Amy and Nancy, we were able to hear a little bit about what motivated them to kind of pick up the torch there. How about you, Julie? What in your history, what experiences helped influence that for you?
Yeah, this is a great question, Holly. Thank you so much. I grew up in a household in which I saw an incredible woman, and that was my maternal grandmother, really define for me that tenacity, strength, and kindness, and also giving back to others is important. She also taught me that as a woman, I could do anything I set my mind to. I was incredibly fortunate that I did have opportunities, but ultimately, I found that as I was growing in my corporate career, and again, very close to my dad, he was another great mentor for me. A lot of individuals would say, "Oh, wow, Julie, congratulations on that promotion. You're so lucky. You're so confident." And there is a level of confidence. I'm a firstborn, I'm very outspoken. However, I'm not immune to feeling down. I'm not immune to having that imposter syndrome that we talk about. However, the difference is that I continue to show up consistently because, again, habits is what gives us the confidence when we find that evidence that we can do the work. And what I wanted to do is I really wanted to help other women, especially in corporate at one point, really be able to continue to climb the corporate ladder. Many women, and by the way, I'm a minority, I'm a Latina, and a lot of times I found that I had to kind of speak up for myself, raise my hand, step up. And not everybody is ready to do that. Not everybody is necessarily ready to jump in. But if we don't have the opportunities, or if we do have the opportunities, we need to have other people that people can borrow belief from. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to be the person that was that believing mirror for others, so that if given the opportunity, or if they had a dream to climb that corporate ladder to get to the next level, right, they could do it. And that's why I knew that someday, after leaving a corporate world, I would do my own thing. And of course, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was offered a separation package, and immediately I knew that that's what I wanted to do. One of the things that occurred is, and I still work with individuals who are in that corporate arena who are looking to build their careers, but one of the things that I found is that women in midlife, in particular, are finishing chapters for themselves. Maybe they were a stay-at-home mom for many years, or a teacher, or they had a corporate career like myself, and they didn't know what was next for them. And they had big dreams, yet they needed a roadmap and they needed a cheerleader. And that's a little bit of what I started to become, is that believing mirror, that cheerleader, and also the person that helped them define that roadmap for building a business, building a brand, because that comes very easily to me. I'm very strategic when I think, and I like looking at big pictures and then just saying, okay, well, this is what you want to do. I think that this is the road, this, and this. And then I love to also connect individuals to others, because we can do it together, right? We're better together than alone. So that is what I started to do. And really, with that passion that I had for knowing that if you are struggling to feel the confidence, you're not alone. We need to let each other know that we are not that Instagrammable perfection, right? we all have a little bit of brokenness. We all have some stumbles. We all have the imperfection that actually gives us the lessons that we need to move forward to whatever we want to achieve. So that's a little bit of my perspective and background on that, Holly.
Awesome. Thank you. Go ahead, Kevin.
So I wanted to ask you, because one of the themes of the show is that at one point in everybody's life, it happened in mine. I actually don't know about Holly, but I'm sure it did. And which is, why am I really here? And what am I here to do? And what is my purpose? And do you find that in your past and your work that you, and this is for anybody who'd like to answer, that there are lots and lots of women out there that are fighting with that premise, which is, why am I really here? Am I here to be a housewife? Am I here to be just a mother? Am I here to make a difference in the world? Do you get that a lot from the people that you work with?
Yeah, you know, if I can just answer to that, I think that we all begin with very big dreams, right? I'm actually visiting my niece in Florida and she's 10. And at 10, we had these dreams. I want to be, name it, right? And somewhere along the line, people begin to say, oh, maybe not. Or we begin to see, or we begin to stack up our losses and really get defined by those losses. And that is a little bit of what robs us or takes us away from the big picture of what we have our purpose to be. I knew that my purpose from a very young age, living with my grandmother, that I wanted to change lives, that I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to help others. And of course, you know, I did many different things. I started out as a teacher. I worked retail and then I moved into corporate America. But somewhere along the line, I just started to beat myself up at one point because I thought, oh, did I change the world? Not really. All I've done is bounce from work to job and never really noticing, right, that I was supposed to be doing that. Because what happens is all of the things that we do are the puzzle pieces that make us capable and able to do what we are meant to be doing. We just have to believe that we have become the person that has had the experiences that will allow them to show up and live in their purpose. Our purpose is something that lives within us, and we need to just reconnect and see how our life experiences, how the things that we've done allow us to still go after those dreams. And by the way, well, the other piece of it is I think that we need to give ourselves the ability to know that just because the dream doesn't look exactly how you saw it, the dream is capable of you achieving. You just need to be okay with letting it be a little different. You know, for instance, I had a dream that I was going to have a big birthday party when I turned 50 in 2020. And I did not have this big party, but what I did have was a big celebration to launch my podcast. Be okay with redefining what your dream is. Be okay with redefining your purpose and let yourself see that everything that you've done has prepared you for where you are today to live in that purpose.
And I would just like to add to that, if I could, which is that finding a group of like-minded women who can support you in what you're doing is vital to being able to live your best life.
Mhm.
Because sadly, a lot of people that we are born with as family and friends, and they have a tendency to say, oh, so you want to interview people on the red carpet? Oh, Nancy, I don't think that that's going to be something you're going to be able to do. You're probably not going to make any money at that. Well, you know what? You did that. So did Amy. And so it's important that you have a good support group. And if it can't be your family and friends, have it be the Passionistas. And you can join their group, and you can all have a real wonderful experience learning about each other and supporting each other. I think that's paramount. Holly, what do you think?
I love it. And community is really, really important. And with the power of the internet, you now have another resource for that, especially if you are into networking with other amazing ladies. I did want to know, so if people want to drink from the Julie Cup more and listen to her show, it's called Confident You. How do we find that?
Yeah, so Confident You is my radio show, and you can find it on Amazon. You can ask Alexa to play the 360 Talk Radio, but if you want to listen to the podcast, that is Casa de Confidence. And my handsome hot husband is my sidekick in that gig, and we really love being able to talk about confidence and talk about how we can go in that journey and live the life of our dreams. And again, it takes community. It takes everybody just pouring into you and being able to provide you with the ability to see in you what you are not ready to see in yourself. And that's one of the things that the Passionistas and the community is really doing for others.
Handsome, hot husband. That's pretty cool.
Hashtag handsome hot husband.
I never had that title. Anyway, so ladies, it's awesome to have you here. And Holly, should we have them give out their information so that we can make sure again that people get in contact with them and stuff?
And stuff, yeah. Well, and I'll let them do the actual full information, but to spell Passionista, it's spelled Passionistas for Passionistas. Go ahead.
If you
Amy
can't
and
pronounce
Nancy.
it, that's how you spell it.
Or just bring Holly with you. Holly is guaranteed a job for life as long as Kevin knows us, because she has to pronounce.
Yeah.
Well, you can find us at thepassionistasproject.com/positive talk, and then you get your discount to join the sisterhood. And when you're at thepassionistasproject.com, you can find us, all our socials, email, everything. So that's the one-stop shop to find everything Passionistas.
And it's also another place where you can find Julie, because she's one of our Power Passionistas. Mm-hmm. So she has her own space in the premium membership where she can communicate directly and share her own thoughts with the community. But she also drops into that free space all the time and comments and shares. Later this year, we're going to be launching a course with Julie that's going to be an interactive multi-week extravaganza. We're nailing down exactly the topic and the plan, but there will be some really deep learning with Julie right in the Passionistas community that's going to be amazing. So hopefully you'll find her there as well as in her own space too.
You guys are you're all phenomenal people, but I think everybody needs a support network. So I would suggest that if you don't have one, this would be a great one to have. And these two, by the way, I made reference to the red carpet. Yes, they did actually work in the Oscars and other places where the red carpet was, and these superstar people would go by and all that kind of stuff. But I'm willing to bet that they'll sit here and tell you that even though the superstar people are not necessarily so superstar, they're just people.
Absolutely. And the women, I mean, no disrespect to anybody that we ever interviewed, but the women in our community are such superstars. Julie, obviously, last Friday, we went and saw Selene Luna speak in person as a keynote speaker at a Women's Equality Summit from a disability organization and talk about her journey. Is unbelievable. Next week we have Dr. Melissa Bird, who'll join us or 2 weeks we'll have Dr. Melissa Bird joining us on the show here, and she's launching our first course. Will be Dr. Bird's course on following your intuition, and there are just so many amazing women. And we went through a thing last year, Nancy and I. We always act like we know what it's like to be doing it on our own, but at the end of the day, we've always had each other. And last year, Nancy got really sick. And there was a period of time where I kind of was doing it by myself for a few weeks while she was recovering. And it just was a reminder that we are so lucky that we have each other. And what got me through, and I think what helped Nancy get healthy so fast, was all these other women surrounding us and supporting us, like Julie, who checked in all the time. And so, said, don't worry about that. We had a book that we were launching. Don't worry about that. We're going to help you do that. You guys just focus on Nancy. And that's what this sisterhood does. It's personal, support, as well as, it's not just about business. It's about connection and friendship. And we're so lucky that we have benefited from these incredible women too. And so we're not just the presidents, we are customers, and we're very, very blessed to have them all in our lives.
Just to seed potential future shows, if you do bring Julie back for this segment that we have on Positive Talk Radio, she also has a book. And before we go into a little bit of closing conversation, Julie, what is like one word, if you had to summarize like the visceral emotional feeling you had right before you stepped out on the live TEDx show that you did?
Well, TEDx was definitely a big dream for me, and stepping into that stage was coming full circle, and that was the emotion. I talked about confidence, I talked about habits, I talked about where I came from, but it was really a full circle moment for me, and was really the realization that I didn't get to TEDx by myself. I got there through the support of individuals like Nancy and Amy and other individuals who are in the community for the Passionistas, and people that we surround ourselves with are the ones that help us reach for the stars and reach our dreams. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I, for one, would like to thank Holly for making this happen. This is really cool.
Yes, and I'd like to say Holly is also a Passionista. So if you join the Passionistas Project, you also get to chat with Holly and get to know her, which has been one of our great joys of the last few years as well. We love Holly. And Kevin, we're so grateful for you, and we love you too. You guys have just given us this amazing platform and really understand the mission and are so positive and so supportive of all the women in our community, and we're really, really grateful for that.
I don't know what, but I like women personally. I personally like women more than I like men in many cases. There are a few good guys, but you got the important part that I want everybody to recognize is that you deserve to have everything that any man who ever walked the planet deserves to have. Equal pay, equal rights, taking care of the medical things and all of those things. And if we can work together to help people realize how important that is and create a movement amongst the Passionistas, that would be really, really cool. And I even said the name correctly twice in a row.
Got it.
We're on to
Good
something.
job.
It's happening, people. It's happening.
So, Holly, go ahead.
I think that is perfect. I think we've appropriately seeded future shows for potentially having Julie back. And from there, we can let you start to close out the show, Mr. Captain.
Well, all righty then. I'd like to take a couple of moments for each of you to talk to our audience and to tell them anything that you would like them to know. And we'll start alphabetically with Amy.
All right. Well, I just want people to know that you don't have to do it alone, that there are people who really want to connect with you, and not just for their own selfish reasons, but to be supportive. What separates our community, Nancy and I realized at the end of last year, is that every single woman in our community is the type of person that says, what can I do for you, whenever they have a call with somebody. Most networking calls you get on, it's about what the goal and outcome of, the self-satisfying element of the call is. And with our women, it's shocking. It never ceases to amaze me that every single call is, what can we do for you, to us? So if you're looking for people who are caring, that's why we have a social impact component. Everybody in our community wants to do good in the world. So it's business development, it's personal growth, it's social impact. Everybody is welcome as long as you're respectful of everybody else's views. We are interested in your views. And we just want you to come and be yourself and feel accepted and loved like any sister would do for her sisters.
And Julie?
Find your people. We really have to give ourselves the grace to also share our gifts with other people. We've talked about what you're going to get from joining the sisterhood, but I want to remind you that sitting on the sidelines, not sharing your gifts, people in the membership, in the sisterhood, need what you have to offer. Be willing to know that. Be willing to take a gamble that all of the experiences that you have brought you here so that you're listening today and that you can then join the membership and make an impact and create a ripple effect in the life of other people. We will never know the influence that we have in this world, but we will know that the actions and decisions that we made today allowed us to show up for somebody else. So I want to challenge people to remember to not keep your gifts hidden, and that if you don't know what your gifts are, join, and you will surely find out what they are when you join the membership.
And Nancy, first of all, I want to say I'm glad you're feeling better.
Well, thank you very much. I am feeling much better. Thanks. I would like to say that joining the sisterhood is also fun. I think one of the most important things that I share with Amy and my other sisters is whenever we get together, we laugh and laugh and laugh, and we have so much fun. This past weekend, got together with Amy and our other sister, Lisa, who lives here, and we baked and we played board games and we laughed and we joked and we reminisced and we had a good time. And we're trying to bring that spirit into the sisterhood as well. We have occasional cocktail parties and virtual cocktail parties, and we play games and we talk about pop culture and trivia and all sorts of fun things too. So it's a place. After being with my sisters on Saturday, my soul was filled. I just felt like it filled my soul, and we want that feeling to come from the community as well. We want you to come and get your soul filled when you interact with the women in our community.
And Miss Holly.
I didn't know I was going to have to go. Well, I would love to say to everyone listening, join us live on our YouTube streaming channel to bring the Passionistas back every first and third Monday of the month. And you can comment and ask questions and we can get them answered live.
And ladies, I'd like to thank all of you for being here. I hope that this has impacted that. Well, let me put it another way. I know, Julie, to answer your question, this is going to impact one person, and that's all that we can do. And after that, we'll see. But I want to thank each of you for being here. And again, Amy, if they want to go find your stuff, how do they get to it?
They can go to the Passionistas Project /positive talk. Right now?
Yep.
She's so much better at that. And also just the PassionistasProject.com. That's where all of our social media handles are. And that'll get you to the sisterhood. And we can't wait for you to join us.
Holly, spell Passionistas for me again. That's 3. I'm good.
You're getting it. Passionistas. Passionistas.
And I'd like to thank everybody for being here on the YouTube and also the Brushwood Media Network. With that, for everybody, I need to say goodbye and take care of yourselves, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.